us a little bit of a preview, forecast, if we will, on what you see in terms of candidates in the March 3rd election, 2020, which is very important in many respects.
Terry, I think for the first time, I mean, the March 3rd has got some people confused. Many people know that I've been a staunch Republican for a long period of time. I've got a lot of great independent friends, Democratic friends. I'm almost like a lot of people in this country that I don't necessarily think it's the brand that you say that you're associated with. You really want good candidates. One of the things that became very clear in the High Desert Survey that will come out now on May 28th, and we'll talk about that later, is there's a lack of leadership within the region. I know there'll be some people politically watching this that are elected that will say, well, shame on you, Joe, for calling it out. But I think if you look across the country, people are upset with our elected officials. Robert Lovingood, who's now leaving as our supervisor, he didn't coin a phrase, but he used a phrase early on in his career about measurable results. So what I say to people is, let's take a look at the measurable results. So let's take a look at the state. We have a Senate candidate in Scott Wilks. Scott's done, I think, a great job. I mean, he's in the minority of the state Senate. He's done a great job in trying to protect us. He's done a great job in legislation. Although he's over in the Santa Clarita Valley and the Antelope Valley, this is still his district. When you call Scott or you call his office, you get immediate service. The challenge that Scott has is that he's in the minority of the Senate. And the Senate's in the minority and the Assembly's in the super minority. So trying to get anything done is rather tough. I think the thing about Scott is that Scott can reach across the aisle. He puts his differences aside. I mean, I think he's very articulate. I've heard great things from other people up in Sacramento, and I really think that he's the person that should continue to represent us. So I would strongly endorse him. On the Assembly side, we're losing a great guy. Jay Obernolte, I think, is everybody knows that Keith Olberg is not only a longtime friend, but will always be friends. And I thought he was just an incredible assemblyman at his time. But Jay came in, and he's had three terms at it. He's done a great job. He's a businessman. He has 25 employees. He has a family. He's got great kids. He's got a great wife as a partner. He understands business. That's what I think made Jay so successful. I think Jay, through his short tenure as a politician, he sat on the airport board, I think, up in Big Bear. He sat as a city councilman in Big Bear. He sat as a mayor in Big Bear. But at the end of the day, Jay understands being sued. Jay understands workers' comp. Jay understands the regulations that have been imposed. And the one thing about Jay that I'll say, if you text him or you email him, you will get a personal call back from him if he obviously knows you. Otherwise, he's got a great staff. I mean, just an incredible staff of people that do great things. He's leaving for Congress, and while some people think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to win, I think he is. I mean, not only does he have my support, he's the right person to go to Washington. Jay is, again, a business person. He can walk across the aisle. Could Jay sit down with Nadler? Could he sit down with Schiff? Could he sit down with Pelosi and cut a deal? He could do it, and he could do it very, very well. He's very articulate. You walk into his office, there's absolutely nothing on his desk. He's totally electronic. So I think that he's going to be a great representative. I know that there's Tim Donnelly. Tim's another Republican who's been running. I've known Tim a long time, but I just don't. I think we need to send somebody back to Washington, not to continue this poking in the eye. We need to unite our country. We need to unite our party. And I think that somebody like Jay Obernolte, he's the right guy, doesn't have a big ego. And you know what? He doesn't need the pension. So people don't know. After 3 terms, you get an automatic, I think it's $175,000 a year pension and all this medical insurance. And I think that's why we have some people maybe run for this stuff. He doesn't need it. He's a self-made man. He's got a great family, and I think that he's the right guy. Getting down to kind of the local race, I mean, the local things I think really are going to matter here are what happens in the 1st District and the 3rd District. So while some people say, well, Joe, we only care about what goes on in the 1st District and we don't care about what goes on in the 3rd District. Last time I checked, the districts, while the 3rd District takes in the Morongo Basin and Yucca Valley and Joshua Tree and goes out to 29 Palms, and Don Rowe is the current incumbent in there, we have a lot of things in common. We have we have welfare issues and poverty issues and homelessness issues and lack of infrastructure issues, and we have lack of enough people in law enforcement to protect us or make us feel safe. So I think over in the 3rd District, although Dawn was appointed, we have dealt with her. She's an incredibly nice lady. She's got a great story. I mean, what the pain that her and her family have gone through the loss of her husband and what he did in protecting our country overseas, over in Iraq. I mean, it's a sad story, but I'll tell you, very strong woman, very strong-willed, knows her stuff, doesn't get involved in politics, has really no ego at all. I'd love for her to be my supervisor because she does care. She's easily accessible. She's got a great chief of staff in Matt Knox, and she really does care. But I think that she's a choice. Let's get down to the 1st District. This race in the 1st District, I think, is critical. I know Congressman Paul Cook. I have had lunch with Paul Cook. I know Paul well. I think he's a great guy. He's John Sobel back in Washington is just an incredible chief of staff. Dakota Higgins, they got a great crew right here. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is Paul's time for our district. And I know that he'll probably be disappointed with that. I really don't think that what I'm going to say is going to have much to do with whether he wins or loses. I like Chico Garza. I've known Chico for 30 years. I don't know of anybody, myself, I don't know anybody that has run more tires off their car than Chico. I don't know anybody as passionate about education. I don't know anybody that is more passionate about helping our youth, our kids that are homeless and are in poverty. I have talked to Chico at 11 o'clock at night when he's driving back from whether it be the Antelope Valley or somewhere in Southern California to help kids. He understands the issues up here. He was in business, so he's been a business person. He owned a bunch of radio stations at one time. He is extremely connected, and he deeply cares. I was at an event just recently, and I cannot tell you the amount of people that said, I'm voting for Chico. Not that I don't like Paul Cook. I think we need somebody that's from here, that has lived here, that has paid their taxes here, that has sacrificed. Chico had some pretty serious health issues a couple years ago, and I know exactly why he is here today. By the grace of God, his wife Lillian is just an absolute rock star. They are grounded people, and I think we need a supervisor that is going to sit down and fight for the things that we need to do on up here. I mean, we just went recently to the Victorville State of the City Chamber event. We were guests of Sterling. Great breakfast, 250 business people there. But the main topic was public safety. So you can spin the numbers any way you want. We have a public safety problem, and that's going to be a real issue. So kind of dovetailing into that, Victorville's got some real challenges this year. I think they got a great city manager named Keith Metzler and Sophie Smith, and in planning they've got Scott Webb and Brian Gingler in engineering. Great team of people. Eric Ray out at the airport is a rock star. I mean, the airport's just getting a ton of activity. Sterling's getting a lot of activity, but we need leadership. And I think we need some new leadership. So my longtime friend, Mike Stevens, who's run in the past, is going to run this time, and the announcement just recently came out. I've known Mike for 30 years. And Terry, the thing that I like about Mike is Mike and I can disagree on a topic. And we've sat down at a meal with Deb and I and his family. We can disagree about an issue. We go right on the other issue. It's never had an impact. We've never sent each other a nasty email. He's a great thinker. He challenges people. He pushes people. Sometimes people don't like that. I'm known for doing the same thing. That's just kind of the way that it is. But I think that Mike has his heart. He retired from here. He was with the Sheriff's Department for a while. He worked for Marcia Tarosi. I mean, you remember back in the days with Marcia Tarosi and Rail Cycle and all that? Then he went to the Mojave Water Agency and did a great job out there, and he retired. And then he moved down to Arizona. And we talk all the time, and it wasn't a year later that he said, you know what, Arizona's real nice, like it a little bit too hot, and you know what, my heart is back in the high desert. We're going to support Mike. We hope the business community supports him. I think he brings about a great amount of experience, and I'll tell you, he's got it in his heart. I mean, we need people now in politics that have it in their heart. We need people that really want to get to the core of our problems and deal with issues. There's somebody that I've known for a long period of time. I've worked with him in many different capacities. Thurston, Smitty. I mean, everybody just knows him by Smitty Smith. Smitty has served on the Superior City Council. He is a mayor. He serves on the Mojave Water Agency. He's now the president of the board. Smitty originally came to me, and I said to him, I said, Smitty, I know you, I love you. We were at spring train last year down in Phoenix. What is your platform? I mean, what are you going to be able to do for the Mojave River Valley at the state assembly? What are you going to do to fill the shoes of former Assemblyman Jay Obernolte, who is a businessman? I think they can take some additional risk. In some recent conversations that we've had, and the reason I'm coming out to support and really encourage people to vote for him, and I don't really even think it matters whether he's a Democrat or Republican. I mean, he's a Republican. He's been president of the Victor Valley Republican Club. Smitty is about making deals that make sense. The one thing that he said to me, we had a conversation a week and a half ago when I was down in Sedona. He said, Joe, I want to be the leader in the high desert to bring the leadership of the high desert together. And I said to him, Smitty, if you're willing to do that, I'm willing to support you publicly, because I think that we are fractured as a Republican Party. I think we're fractured as a Democratic Party. I think that we're fractured in our leadership. I think that part of it is who did what, and I'm buddies with this, and I know there's some people that are upset about about the survey. I think that Smitty is a guy that could actually sit us down independently and figure out what has gone wrong up here from a leadership standpoint. So I'm strongly endorsing his campaign for assembly. What you see with Smitty is what you get, and he's the same way all the time. It doesn't matter if you're having a barbecue at his place or he's at your place. But I think we also need somebody that's going to go on up there, and the first mailing piece he came out with had a great plane on there, and he's going to fight, and I think that he will, and I think that there'll be some of us within the region here that will be sure that he does, because I think that he is the right guy.